What's up guys, it's Prince Charming. Today we're going to be checking out a very creepy video for you guys today. It's going to be very creepy, very chilling. 5 zombies caught on camera and spotted in real life. We're going to be checking out zombies in real life. Walking Dead is real. It's a real show. It's a reality show. You thought it was fiction? No, it really is non-fiction. It's a glimpse into the future of how the apocalypse is going to happen. It's going to be via zombies. But don't forget to hit me with a like on this video, guys. Hit me with a thumbs up button right now. Subscribe and turn your post notifications on so you never miss a video. Your boy got a P.O Box, so if you send something my way, you will get a shout out in a video, so make sure you send me something. Lastly, go ahead and comment, do you think you'll survive the zombie apocalypse? I will most definitely survive it, but only if I have to survive it, because really, who wants to live in a world like that? Who wants to be able to survive in a zombie world? It's not fun, it's nothing exciting. Enough of me talking though, let's go ahead and check out these 5 zombies caught on camera, spotted in real life. Hope you guys enjoy the video.
Number 5. Hymenoptera argyrafica versus spiders. This is one nasty wasp and reproduces by using a form of zombification. It's found in Costa Rica, which might lead travelers to avoid the ecotourism destination.
Yeah, Costa Rica has a lot of
knowing that it doesn't actually target or affect humans. In this case, its victim is a particular species of spider. This spider host is incredibly important to the wasp because it's used as a kind of forced labor in order to build a nest for the wasp's cocoon. The process begins when a wasp finds a suitable spider to prey on, and its science fiction-esque path continues from there. The wasp's next step is to sting the spider in order to paralyze it for a small amount of time. During this window, the wasp lays an egg on the abdomen of the host spider, which is secured.
This is pretty
Once
diluted.
this egg hatches, it produces a larva that then begins to feast on the spider's blood as it goes about its day-to-day routine. After a few weeks of feeding off the spider, the larva then needs a suitable spot to build its cocoon. This is achieved by injecting a special chemical into the host spider, which then causes it to build a very particular web. This new variety of web is much stronger and can therefore properly support the wasp larva cocoon even during periods of intense wind and rain. The chemicals basically take over the brain of the spider at this point, and once it builds the web nest,
thankfully
it
it's only
moves
spiders
to the very center and proceeds to stop moving altogether. The next step in this
Thankfully,
process
it's only spiders.
involves the spider devouring the spider's insides after injecting it with a poison. Once the spider is sufficiently consumed in this way, the wasp larva then constructs its cocoon, hanging it from the center of the newly built spider web. Once the larva has developed a little further, it emerges as a fresh wasp, ready to descend on yet another unsuspecting spider. What's really astonishing about this entire
wasps
process
have control over
is how
spiders
the larvae
like
are
that.
able to completely take control of these spiders' actions with the injection of a simple chemical. Their altered state is creepy to be sure, and is incredibly similar to what zombies are supposed to go through. This natural zombification is astounding and could offer incredible insights into the workings of the brain and how it affects behavior. There are also a number of other wasps that manipulate their hosts to do their bidding, each specializing on a particular species. Not much is known about how these wasps evolved to include such an advanced trick in their arsenal, but more research is constantly being conducted.
Imagine like this chemical being able to be used on humans. That would be very scary. Could you imagine humans being under the control of wasps? What would we be doing all day? Would we just be running around buzzing in people's ears, hitting people just because we're randomly stinging people? I do not know what use, wasps would have over humans, but I don't want that chemical being able to be used on us.
Number 4. Jewel wasp versus cockroaches. Number 4 on our countdown is another wasp, also known as the emerald cockroach wasp. This one
is scary looking.
The way it infects not spiders but cockroaches, hence its name. It is brightly colored, and like Hymenoptera argyrafica, lives a solitary existence, far from the normal behavior we expect most wasps to engage.
I hate roaches, they're
Jewel
gross.
wasp is found in abundance in South Africa, Asia, and many islands in the South Pacific, especially during warmer seasons. It's interesting to note that they were also introduced to Hawaii in 1941 to control the roach population there, but the parasitic wasp wasn't able to combat them on such a large scale. When a wasp finds a cockroach to use as a host,
I hate
it injects
roaches.
a venom into very specific and precise areas of the roach's brain.
Oh
the
my
first
gosh.
sting is injected into a thoracic ganglion to paralyze its victim in its front legs. This is followed up by a second, more potent sting that is located embedded in the cockroach's brain. The second sting slows down the roach's reaction times to perceived dangers and also causes it to groom itself repeatedly. This is potentially due to the fact that the venom blocks a specific neurotransmitter, although further study is needed to confirm the hypothesis and deduce exactly how it causes such behavior. Another behavior that's been observed is that the wasp then chews off a large portion of the roach's antenna, which is believed to either help the wasp regain energy or ensure that it injected the correct amount of venom into its host.
They just eat your antenna?
These severed antennae are then used to direct the roach, much like a leash, to the wasp's burrow.
Oh,
once inside,
smart.
the wasp lays an egg on the roach's abdomen. The infected roach then just sits there without concern for any apparent danger. After remaining in the burrow for another few days, the wasp larva then hatches
Wasps are
and begins
crazy.
to use the roach as breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh, gosh.
The larvae even seem able to pick and choose which organs they consume in order to keep the roach alive as long as possible. Once thoroughly
These
torn
wasp
apart
men are
from
crazy,
the
guys.
inside out, the roach's body then serves as a protective spot for the larva to grow a cocoon. Once it's fully grown, the wasp emerges from the cockroach's body to begin their lives that span for several months. Female jewel wasps are able to infect multiple roaches after mating, which only takes a few minutes at the most, though the male wasp will then claim that this has never happened to him and usually he can last much longer. The ability of these wasps to alter the behavior of these roaches makes them spreaders of yet another wasp-borne zombification process.
So I'm guessing these wasps are just out of control. They're over here controlling people. I didn't know wasps had the power to control people like this. I guess that's a pretty cool power to have. I guess if you ever come like in close to like a radiation soaked wasp, like Spider-Man, let it bite you so you can get those cool wasp powers.
Number 3. Pheocordyceps unilateralis versus ants. Our third item moves away from parasitic wasps that use other creatures for manual labor, food, and
Ew, what is that?
More on a deadly parasitic fungus that similarly infects its victims' brains and forces them to perform actions that are completely out of character in order to serve the host's purposes. This zombie-creating predator is actually a variety of fungus that was first discovered by a British naturalist by the name of Alfred Wallace back in 1859.
Hey, Alfred!
Much like the wasps we spoke
Oh
about.
gosh, what is that?
Cordyceps fungi
Ew.
focus on a specific species,
Oh, it's
with this
ladybug.
particular entomopathogen preying on ants of the Campanati tribe, which includes carpenter ants along with several others. This fungus begins by releasing spores that attach to any ants unfortunate enough to cross their paths.
Aww.
This mechanism allows the Cordyceps fungi to stop any one species from gaining too much control over their ecosystem, as the greater their numbers, the greater their chances of infection. The spores then begin to spread throughout the ant's body and begin to release compounds that directly affect the victim's behavior. Because of these chemical changes, ants that
Cordyceps.
usually spend their time way up in tree canopies begin to make their way closer to the forest floor, where the environment is better suited to fungal growth. The fungi also causes intermittent seizures in the ants, which shake them loose from their higher perches and drops them toward the ground. From there, the ant climbs up the stem of a plant and affixes itself to the underside of a leaf. It's worth mentioning here that markings just like the ones these ants make when under their fungi invaders' control exactly match those found on a preserved leaf fossil dating back 48 million years.
So this has been happening for a
This
while.
suggests that these fungi have been around for a very long time.
And they're gonna mutate
Once
to
locked
humans.
onto its leaf,
Oh,
the
gosh.
ant slowly atrophies and wastes away, leaving a perfect meal for the fungus. Once
Ugh.
it reproduces, it releases another cloud of spores that float on the breeze, waiting to infect new ants in the same way.
I wonder how
Unlike
mushrooms be
parasitic
tasty.
wasps,
They
this
look
process
interesting.
is unseen and is a perfect example of a zombie virus in nature. The fungus also seems to be able to protect the infected ants from further microbial or fungal growths once they're possessed, which also serves to protect the fungus itself and maintain its life cycle. This might help with the fact that Pheocordyceps unilateralis itself is susceptible to another hyperparasite that reduces its effectiveness and inhibits the release of spores.
Cordyceps mushrooms. That is is the infection from Last of Us, if you don't remember. The Last of Us being that zombie apocalypse video game, you know, Ellie and Joel. It was cordyceps mushrooms that changed people into that, and this is exactly what they were talking about. It was cordyceps mushrooms that mutated so that it can affect humans. So this is something that can very much happen, guys, so I hope you are scared.
Number 2. Hair worm tactics.
Yuck.
These parasitic worms are able to survive in extreme conditions. They need the correct environment to complete each step of a fairly elaborate life cycle, and this is a huge benefit. Hair worms are aquatic in their adult form, but many of their species require insects that are land-based to develop their eggs. For this to happen, adults must mate in water and then give birth to free-floating eggs. These eggs hatch to reveal a larva that must then burrow itself into a host in order to begin its next developmental stage. Once hatched, these larvae will bury themselves in anything from a snail to a mosquito in the hope that this creature is then eaten by their next host. Crickets are their regular victims, but they've been found in many other insects as well, including beetles.
So we need to watch what we eat.
We're
not eating bugs.
Completely take over their host. They're usually many times their host's length, and this is the stage where they start manipulating the behavior of their hosts by altering their brain chemistry. Since the hair worm needs an aquatic environment to mate and reproduce in, it forces the infected inhabitants to search out a wet environment. If the worms simply broke out wherever the crickets happen to be, they could very easily dry out, which would mean the end of them. This process is not understood all that well, and scientists are still trying to figure out how they perform their manipulation. Luckily for them, the hair worm is able to survive freezing temperatures, which allows researchers to keep them on deck almost indefinitely. If they weren't quite so hardy, they would be much more difficult to study because they would be more difficult to breed in laboratory settings.
I hate small things because you can't see them.
They're able to remain dormant in their hosts for the same extended periods and continue to infect them after, say, a winter's hibernation, which makes them much stranger and more terrifying. Thankfully for us, this specific species of parasitic worms
does not mess with us
humans,
at all.
So we won't have to worry about being driven to drown ourselves by a zombie virus just yet.
No. Thankfully, it doesn't affect humans, but guys, what I'm telling you is these can mutate, like viruses, diseases, animals can mutate. So just because it doesn't affect humans now, doesn't mean it can affect us in the future, because things always change. Y'all need to start preparing for the end of the world, because it may be coming soon, you know. Trump's president. You never know.
Number 1. Flora-Kiss californiensis versus shorebirds, horn snails, and killifish.
The first one doesn't even sound like a real one.
Our next parasite that modifies the behavior of its host in order to increase chances of survival and procreation is the parasite Flora-Kiss californiensis, which, much like hairworms, have a fairly complicated time making their way from one host vessel to the next. They begin their lives with the parasite's eggs being released in bird droppings. The hope for the parasites here is that the birds will defecate over the water, which puts the eggs in the path of aquatic horn snails. These snails serve as a perfect place for these parasites to grow up, and they also make the snails sterile,
so they live in bird poop?
that their
That's
new
disgusting.
home won't be disrupted by the snail's own reproductive tendencies. Once they've matured for a few generations and built themselves up into a tiny army, these parasites then swim out en masse and right into the gills of killifish, where they latch on and make their way up a special nerve.
Damn it! Did it choke that fish?
The parasite then forms a coating over the fish's brain that induces symptoms very much like seizures. They're also more prone to swimming closer to the surface. These jerky motions close to the surface make it easier for birds to eat these fish, where the parasite lays its eggs in the bird's stool, repeating the cycle. The ability for this parasite to take over the brains of infected fish, while simultaneously surviving through so many complicated steps involving multiple hosts, makes them a force to be reckoned with where zombie-esque manipulations of other
savage on his hat.
brains is concerned. Freaky stuff, right?
So that was it for that video, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. Those were zombies that exist in real life. I was going into this video thinking we're gonna actually see like human zombies, but I guess these zombies are like actually real because they actually are happening in real life. So you wouldn't really think they're zombies, but anything that really dies and comes back as zombies. So I don't really want to call those zombies. I'll call them more possessed in a way. But don't forget to hit me with a like, subscribe, and comment on this video if you want to reply from yours truly, Prince Charming. My name is Prince Ohakam. Stay charming, my friends.